Joining me again is Brother Amey Deshpande from the Sri Sathya Sai Center for Human Values. First of all, I would like to express our gratitude to so many brothers and sisters who have sent many encouraging comments, very beautiful notes. Someone has said that after listening to the Satsangh last time, now when she sits for meditation, there is a smile on her face. Another person says that thanks to this Satsangh, I know that Dhyana is now not a serious business, but a happy business.
Wow.
And this really makes us happy, really makes us delighted. Another person said, I'm new to Swami, and after I heard your Satsang, I learned so much about Bhagawan's teachings. So we are really so gratified looking at all the responses that all of you, dear brothers and sisters, have sent. Isn't it, Ame?
Absolutely. In fact, we have lots and lots of feedback. So someone said that this is a very relevant topic, and that is something which is once again His grace that He inspired us to take it up. We have another comment which says that this was the right time to do this satsang. I'm sure that it resonates with everyone out there with the kind of situation that we are facing today. Definitely, if not today, then which is the other best time. But I think what I loved the most was one of this comment which says, "From today I will start meditating."
Yes.
I think that is the most gratifying for us, and I'm sure that Swami is so pleased just hearing that yes, one more child is now initiated into this spiritual sadhana.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, talking about one more child, there was this interesting question from Taruni, a 15-year-old, and she said, I have this query. Because we talked about sealing on desires, we said that if you have to reduce your stress, let's go back to the root. And the root is we have to learn to put a stop on our excessive desires. And so Taruni has asked, how does one put a ceiling on desires? And
the $1 million question. The $1 million question.
And it's understandable coming from a youngster. And I want to go back to what we touched upon last time. We said that in the modern times, there is this new trend, the new way of living, which is the concept of minimalism. To learn to live with less and learn to live with less happily.
Wow.
With no complaints, enjoying it every second. In fact, Ame, when I think about even ashram, Prasanthi Nilayam ashram, we have so many distinguished elders, who were income tax commissioners, IAS officers, police officers. Once they shifted to Prasanthi Nilayam, their room is just, 10 by 12, that kind of, you have just single room. But you see that they are so contented. And minimalism says that what you should amass, what you should collect is not material possessions, but experiences. Enrich your life through experiences. And I'm sure all these elders and all these devotees who are permanent residents of Prasanthi Nilayam, their life is full of rich experiences.
Absolutely.
And I think that is something that all of us can try. And I was talking to another Sai family, who moved from Bangalore to Chennai. And they told me that they decided that they will evaluate what is really absolutely essential. Over time they have collected so many articles. Now they are saying that they can easily discard 30 to 40%. Now they want to have bare minimum furniture, more space, and just enough reasonable number of dresses, reasonable amount of articles. And see, once you reduce your possessions, your financial burden comes down, your stress comes down, you have more space, you have more time. So we are moving to a phase of simple living and noble thinking, isn't it?
Absolutely. In fact, we were talking about the fact that minimalism is something which has come maybe from 2005 onwards. If you look at the internet, you'll find a lot of material and a lot of videos on minimalism. But in fact, Swami started this way back 3 decades ago. At least that's the minimum that we know. And Swami himself led an extremely frugal life. imagine the Lord of the universe who can create and who has given, tons and tons of gold and, articles and gifts and all sorts of things, himself lived a very, very frugal life. Now, coming to the point of sealing on desires, what does Swami mean by sealing on desires? The feeling that we get is, oh my God, I have to put a plug to my desires. Swami is not telling us to put a plug to our desires.
It is the no desires.
Yes. Swami is saying we have to have sealing on desires. And there's a big difference. And the way Swami himself defines sealing on desires, we'll have the first quote, in fact, and this will make things extremely clear. What does Swami mean by sealing on desires?
Yeah, you can see on the screen the first quote we have for the day.
Exactly. Swami says that life is actually a limited company. If you look at everything in life, whether it's our temperature, whether it's our pulse rate, whether it's our BP, everything has to be in limit. Anything outside limit, whether less or more, can lead to imbalance. And this is something that we even spoke last time. And so Swami very, very clearly and very simply, he says that there are 4 components of sealing on desires. And if you actually look at it, that is all that it is about. A limit on excessive talk, a limit on excessive expenditure, on limit on consumption of food, and limit on wastage of energy. In fact, if you just, each of these is a topic on its own. We can go on and on and on about each one of these. Let me just give you one simple logic that, Swami would tell us about excessive talk. Ironical that we are actually talking about excessive talk. He would say, ask yourself, from where are you getting the energy to speak? We are getting the energy to speak through the food that we eat.
Yes.
Right? The food is being cooked by your cooks, especially in the hostel. We have cooks who make the food. There are people who procure the food.
Yes.
Right? So some energy has gone in there.
Yes.
And ultimately, if you trace back this food, it goes back right up to the poor farmer. Who's toiling away his, his entire effort, his energy to actually grow that food. If you use this speech for unnecessary talk, you are insulting his effort, their effort. What a profound thought.
Absolutely.
That Swami would often say. Therefore, before speaking anything, ask yourself, is it necessary? Because you are going to be insulting that farmer.
That is conscious living, like living with awareness.
Exactly. And there are a few more things that we can talk about. And that is, for example, the concept of 90-90.
Yes.
This is something. This is something that you can read up on.
Yeah.
Ask yourself about all the various articles you have at home. Have you used them for 90 days? And are you going to use them in the next 90 days? And if the answer to both these questions is no, they are you can as well discard them. Because if you have not used something for 90 days, there's very good reason why you're not going to be using it. Yes. And if you're not going to use it in the next 90 days, it's pretty much useless. So as Brother Bishu was saying, that probably 20 to 30% of whatever we have at home, we can actually discard because we probably don't need it.
And discard and live in delight. You can feel happy, you feel light.
In fact, you will not even know that it is gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, those are just some tips about, sealing on desires, and that's
again another massive topic on its own.
But thank you so much, Taruni, for this question, and we hope we were able to at least give you some tips.
Yes. All of us, I'm sure, we love to listen to a lot of Swami stories.
Yes.
So let me just quote one and then we will move on.
Yeah.
When some of the brothers who used to serve Bhagawan in his personal duty, they used to say that Swami, just imagine, Swami, who is the creator of the entire, we said 5 elements, he would not use the tap for even the morning ablutions like brushing and shaving. He would actually use water in a pot. Right? And when somebody asked him, one of the brothers asked him, Swami, what is the need when there is running water coming from the tap? What is the need to have a pot? Swami said, no, I must know how much water I am using so that I use only what is necessary. Just imagine, this is Swami. Yes. By the way, Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba has provided drinking water to over half of, this combined Andhra Pradesh, okay, and to Chennai, and he has provided water to everyone. Yes. Such a person says, I should know how much water I am utilizing.
He is showing us how to utilize water.
Yes.
You may have enough water, but how to make judicious use of water, because last time we said if everyone consumes and wants to lead a high standard of life,
A wasteful life, pretty
wasteful
much.
life, we will need 4 earths. So I think those are some of the thoughts when it comes to learning to live with less. And we will move on to some other questions,
Yes.
which so many brothers have sent. There was brother Venkat Reddy from Australia and Krishnan from Chennai. They wanted to know what are some practical tips for reducing stress in our lives. And both of us, Amey and me, we thought, let us just look into our lives and see what are those different, I would say, procedures, different approaches that we are following, which has helped us.
Absolutely, yes.
And one thing that comes just straight to me now is whatever happens, to think that it is God's grace. And you can see on the screen the first tip to reduce our stress. Swami says, fill your hearts with the conviction that whatever happens is for your good. Consider everything as prasadam. God knows what is good for you, even as a loving mother knows what a child needs.
Wow.
I mean, that is how clear Bhagawan is. In fact, Amey, I am tempted to share what happened last week. You remember when we had the first satsang, it was on 27th June, and even though we were completely prepared, we had done our all homework in terms of facilities, in terms of infrastructure and audio, video check. But
Yes,
when this
and believe me, when we say homework, there is a big team. You know,
Yes.
what you see in front of you are just 2 of us sitting. But there is a lighting team, there is an audio team, there is a camera team, and there are so many brothers toiling away behind the scenes, and everyone was ready.
Yes. So we all did whatever was needed to ensure that the session goes smoothly. But when the session started, there were a lot of hiccups. And we continued the session, but we could not offer the recording. And we had to re-record. We definitely wanted to offer this. So we re-recorded on the 29th. And you know, as we were doing that session, Amey, what it occurred to me is the first session was actually dedicated to the meditation tree. We took up the topic of Dhyana because the meditation tree anniversary was on 29th.
Was around the corner.
Around the corner. But Swami ensured that we do the session on 29th. So we recorded this on exactly the day the meditation tree was to be adored, and we offered that video that day. So when you look at it, everything in life happens as per His will. You do your best. If things don't go the way you expect, it is okay. It is what He wants. I think that is one of the, perhaps one tip that comes straight to me, and there are many, isn't it, Amey?
Absolutely. In fact, these are all tips, and we'll probably share 4 or 5 tips. In fact, I'm sure many of you will have your own, ways to deal with stress. But if we can constantly tell ourselves, and this is where I have my own little formula. We all have heard of Dominos. I'm sure this is dinner time, and so a lot of hunger, bugs are kind of in the stomach. But there's something called Dominos. I just changed that a little bit. I call my formula as Swami knows, okay, which is Swami knows best. Okay, I constantly try and tell myself in whatever situation, even if everything is fine, just keep telling yourself, Swami knows best, Swami knows best. And so my formula is Swami knows, Swami knows, Swami knows. If He is in charge of our lives, and if we believe that whatever is happening to us is exactly what, the divine design in play, there will be no need to stress because someone else is in charge. Even if I stress, I can't do anything about it.
Yes.
So might as well, just have a hunky-dory time,
Yes.
leaving everything, at His lotus feet.
So don't be stressed, be blessed, feel blessed all the time, because whatever is happening is what He wants. So moving on to the second tip.
The second tip is a very beautiful tip, and let's have this the second quote of Bhagawan himself. We all have heard these, probably some of the more famous words of Bhagawan.
Yes.
Life is a challenge, meet it. Life is a game, play it. And then Swami goes on to say, a weak-minded person cannot accomplish anything. So, be strong-minded. Be cheerful and courageous in the face of adversities. So if you look at this particular, this formula, this tip, if we can call it that way, life is a game. Just think about it, what happens in a game. If you contemplate on this statement of Bhagawan, it will take you, very, very deep. Just think about what happens when we have a game. In a game, we are actually pushing ourselves into a position of stress, right? Where there was no stress, now suddenly we are calling upon more stress in our lives by actually competing, pushing ourselves, putting in that effort. For what? If you actually go through, play any game, any sport, right, you will notice that at the end of the sport, at the end of the game, maybe an hour or half an hour, your mind is very relaxed. While the body may be actually strained and maybe tired and fatigued, the mind is actually very relaxed. And you know why? Because the mind for that entire period of half an hour or 1 hour has been in that moment. We have focused ourselves on every single point, right, that is being played, and therefore the mind has not done its gymnastics of running, in the future or running in the past, and therefore we find ourselves more relaxed. How incredible is that? Now, use the same formula for everything in life. Whenever any event comes, tell ourselves, hey, you know what, Swami? This is a game. Okay, recreate this challenge or this particular thing, meet it as if it's a game, and you could possibly even give yourself some bonus points.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
say that
yes.
if I do well,
Yes.
then Swami is going to be very happy. This is going to bring a smile on Swami's face. And if I, at this moment now Swami is playing with me.
Yes.
Right? So put Swami on the opponent side,
Yes.
and he is hitting the ball,
Yeah.
and you hit the ball
Someone
back.
hurt you, someone said something not nice to you. It's okay, it's a game.
Yeah, Swami is doing this to me to
Yes,
check.
yes.
Okay, Swami, you know what? I'm going to beat you in this game.
Yes.
Right? So I think that's a beautiful tip that we can have. Constantly keep reminding ourselves,
Yes.
everything is a game.
Yes.
Everything is sport.
Yes, so just laugh it off. And the other corollary of this, of being strong-minded, let me give you an example. We are going through this COVID stress. There is this Sai brother of mine. He was sharing that it was such a disastrous experience for him when he heard that actually his father got infected. And, father had to be admitted because father was a very senior person. And, he was trying to manage the situation. Mother is at home, mother also is elderly. He was going to the hospital, and in few days, mother also started showing those signs of the virus. And now he has to go to the hospital, look after father, come back home, look after mother, and he has to ensure that he is safe, otherwise who will look after? But he said, during that period, he just told himself that 200% I am not going to be affected. I mean, that was such a strong mental suggestion that I am not going to be affected. So he used to go to the hospital, serve father, come back home, serve mother, live in the same house, but he was not affected. And he said, this continued for 15 days. After 2 weeks, father came back to the home. Mother also started recovering. And at that time, he felt, okay, now it's fine. He just dropped the guard. And I remember that day he called me and he said, you know what, Vishu? Today I'm feeling the fever.
Oops.
Because he just let the guard down. But it just shows, when you're strong-minded, there is nothing that you cannot do to protect yourself. Every adversity will not become a calamity. Fill yourself with positivity. You can do anything, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a very important statement. That's why Swami said, be strong-minded. The weak-minded can't achieve anything. So that's a very beautiful point. Let's move on to the next tip.
Yeah. So the third point is, again, coming back to adversity. And I always feel that in every adversity, there is a beautiful opportunity. There is a lovely opportunity. Let me give you a little story. So this was some time back when this young doctor who was serving in a government hospital in Mumbai, she got this election duty. She was a very accomplished doctor. She was a PhD. Everyone respected her. Now, when the government asks you to do election duty, you have to sit and manage the queues of people who will come to cast their vote. And her station was in the Dharavi slum. So she was sitting there, and as every person came and they cast their vote, she had to put that ink.
Yep.
And she said, okay, fine, if this is what, the job that I have to do, I will just do it well. She had no complaints. And she started doing it with all her heart. No, absolutely any complaints about the menial nature of the work. And she said, as I was doing this, I noticed something very strange. As she was putting those ink dots, she said, I noticed that the nails of all the women are not pink. They are white. Means she is saying so many nails are white. And as a doctor, it set alarm bells in her mind, because she said it means that they are low on iron. So the moment the election was over, she came back to the slum and she did a complete health checkup of all the women, and she found that 70% of the women are anemic. They are not having the minimum 10 grams of hemoglobin.
Wow.
And she took up that as a challenge, and for the next few months she worked in that slum to raise the health profile. From 70% it became 10%.
Wow.
The number of people who had iron deficiency. For her, being a lady, she knew that if a person with this much of iron deficiency becomes a mother, the children that would be born, they would be born with deformities. But what I'm trying to say is, even though that election duty seemed like an adversity, think like, how can they ask me to do this? I'm a PhD. But look at the change in approach and the beautiful outcome. Something to cherish for a lifetime, isn't it?
Yes, in fact, this is what Swami keeps telling us, He says, I remember of a wonderful incident where for sports meet, Swami would often ask us to do some daredevil, some daredevilry, some stunts will be there. In fact, Swami would himself encourage us to do it. Of course, with all the security and the safety in place. And on one occasion, there was, on one of the years, it was really difficult. Probably, I think it is bike stunts, motor bike stunts. And Swami had asked the students to do it, and they were coming up with facing a few challenges. And after the sports meet got over, it went on brilliantly well. It was extremely successful. Nobody was hurt, and it was scintillating for the entire crowd and Bhagawan. Swami was very happy, and Swami came up to the in charge of this particular event, and he said, when Swami gives you any work or when Swami gives you any challenge, he also gives you the strength to handle that work. I think let this be a good formula for all of us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That whenever any challenge comes,
yes.
if you believe that everything in our life is what Swami is giving us as prasadam,
yes.
which is going back to tip number one, then he is also giving with it the solution bit.
Yes.
Now, if you keep looking at the problem, you're going to be stressed.
Correct.
But if you consider that, it's coming as a package. So when that event is coming, there is a problem bit and there is a solution bit. So if you are able to simply look at the problem plus the solution and focus on the solution,
yes.
automatically our stress is gone.
Stress is gone. You can see on the screen the third tip, which is basically Swami is telling that good and bad lie in your drishti, not in the srishti. So whatever is happening, it all depends on our vision, our outlook, our approach. So moving on to the fourth tip.
The fourth tip is, once again, let us have Bhagawan. And why we are doing this is because we want to use the exact words of Swami. There is no better mentor, guide and stress buster for us than Bhagawan's words. So here Swami says, soul force can accomplish all the tasks of the world. So what is the soul force that Swami is talking about? You see, in our lives, I am sure that everyone out there, we have that one moment or that one event or that one person whom we can call as the anchor of our lives. This anchor meaning, whenever we have, for example, I'll give you a very crude example. Someone like Bill Gates, extremely successful businessman, we all know the founder of Microsoft, and he would say that whenever he faced a decision, he would he would visualize or he would think of his mother's face, and he would say that if I would take this decision, will it bring a smile on her face? If it brings a smile on her face, then this is the right decision. See, so for him, the anchor was his mother, and I'm sure each one of us have some such anchor, either it's a person, as I mentioned, it could be our mother, father, uncle, grandfather, whoever has inspired us. or it could be even something like a book.
Yes.
Right? Something like Satya Sai Speaks could be
Yes,
our anchor.
absolutely.
Or it could be the discourse stream of
Discourse
Radio
stream,
Sai.
yes.
You know, constantly Bhagawan is talking to us. Just imagine how incredible that is.
Yes.
Right? We can hear Swami's voice 24/7.
Yes.
Can that be our anchor?
Yes.
So, what we call the soul force is nothing but a go-to mantra.
Yeah.
Right? Some of us, I think, have Gayatri.
Absolutely.
Some of us have Sai Gayatri.
Yes.
You know, there could be enough and more number of...
Yes. Yeah, basically connect to the source and unlock that force within.
Yep.
And as Brother Amey said, there are as many ways as there are number of people in the world. We have to find out that zone. We have to find out that formula which works best for us. I remember, there is the CEO of a company. He used to say that all the questions that he has in his mind, he gets the answers for them during the morning time when he does Suprabhatam and Nagar Sankirtan. He never misses Nagar Sankirtan, but he says, I do the Nagar Sankirtan not because it makes me so happy, but I find all the solutions during the morning
So
time.
Nagar Sankirtan was his go-to mantra.
His go-to mantra. So I think we all have such go-to places, go-to zones, but this is something that we should cultivate and ensure that we use them effectively and never get stressed.
I think that's a beautiful point. Just to add to that, in case you have not found your go-to mantra, now is the time to start finding one, right? Because that becomes the anchor. You don't need anything outside there.
It could just be one beautiful picture of Swami.
Yes, it could be our most cherished dream. Right? Bhagawan comes in our dream. It is the most beautiful, fascinating moment for us when Swami holds our hand or just smiles at us. Can we keep going back to that? So that is the fourth tip that we wanted to share.
Yeah. So as we mentioned before, there are as many tips as you can think, but we've just gathered a few that we felt has helped us.
Yes.
And
can help you manage that acute stress,
Possibly.
immediate stress and acute stress that may be there.
Absolutely. So now we would like to move on from where we left off in the previous session. Our journey was from Ashanti to Prasanthi. And today we will now make this transition from Prasanthi to Prakanthi. Prakanthi means effulgence. And from Prakanthi we move to Paramjyoti, which is nothing but the Supreme Lord, the Paramatma. That is what is Paramjyoti.
And what a beautiful day to do it. Tomorrow is one of the most auspicious days, not only in the Prasanthi calendar, but possibly in every household of Bhagawan. Right? Tomorrow is Guru Purnima.
Yes.
And to think about Guru Purnima from Prasanthi and to choose a topic like from Prasanthi to Paramjyoti, I'm sure at this moment, every one of the hearts that is listening and are tuned in and they want to be in Prasanthi for this Guru Purnima. But Swami is telling us this year, 2020, Swami is telling us, you don't have to come to Prasanthi, Prasanthi will come to you. You can actually recreate Prasanthi, and that is what we wanted to talk about. How can we find our own Prasanthis in our houses, in our hearts?
Yes, absolutely. So last time we talked about certain guidelines that Bhagawan has laid down for Dhyana. I want you to look at the screen now, because Swami is mentioning what is the secret for success in Dhyana. Bhagavan says the secret of success in Dhyana lies in the purity of the inner life of the sadhaka. The success is proportionate to the importance the sadhaka gives to right conduct or sanmarga. So Swami is so clear that if you want to be successful in your sadhana of dhyana, what is primordial is inner purification. See how much you have cleansed your inner being, and there Bhagavan gives so many guidelines. One thing that I have noticed when I read Bhagavan's literature is, when Swami is talking about bhakti, at some point Swami will come back to talking about food. When Swami is talking about Advaita, at some point Swami will come back and talk about food. When Swami is talking about doing seva, Swami will come back and talk about food. when Swami is talking about how to cultivate great love for God, it will come back to food. So, some way, food is such an essential part of a sadhaka. What kind of food we should consume? I remember there was this instance where two brothers who were in Vrindavan, they were there for their MBA project, and Bhagawan had stepped out, and so one of them had their homes in the city. So these two brothers, they went to the city, and on the way they stopped and they had the snacks and charts which is available on the roadside, and they had a good time in the home. They came back, and the next day Swami called this boy, and Swami said, "Hey, where did you go?" He said, "No, Swami, I went to my home." Swami, "No, what did you do?" "Nothing, Swami." "No, what did you do on the street?" Said, "Swami, we just ate those snacks on the chart." Swami said, "I know you are eating that for Ruchi, for taste, but you should not forget Suchi. Suchi is purity. Purity in food is a big topic by itself, but why we are stressing this is, if we are very serious about following this practice of dhyana, then we have to be very careful about our food, isn't it?
Oh yes, in fact we cannot overemphasize, and some of the things that we will be discussing in the course of the next few minutes are actually very, very practical. They are not very esoteric, because a lot of people feel that, oh, dhyana, how do we do, it's so esoteric, concentrate on the Atman, etc., etc. But the stepping stones for success is a very, very simple process and very, very practical, easily implementable. You can start from today. And one of the things that you can do is about food, regulation of food. And Swami, at length, in most of the Vahinis and most of the discourses, he keeps talking over and over again about the usefulness of sattvic food.
You can see on the screen Bhagavan's quote on food.
Swami says, "Food is the chief formative force. Moral conduct, good habit, spiritual effort, all depends upon the quality of food. Disease, mental weakness, spiritual slackness, all are produced by faulty food." Imagine, Swami is saying this, food is the chief formative force. That is the importance that Swami is giving to food. In fact, I am reminded of another very beautiful thing that Swami would say. He said, see, just think about it, and in Telugu Swami would say, "Yatla fooddu, atla blooddu. Yatla blooddu, atla headdu." He would say, like, because it's the food that we partake directly becomes blood, and it is the blood which is directly nourishing our brain. And the way our brain is going to be nourished, like that are going to be our thoughts, and like as our thoughts, so are our words, and as our words, so are our deeds. So in fact, food is directly related to moral conduct, and that is why Swami at length he talks about Paka Shuddhi, Padartha Shuddhi, Patra Shuddhi. Swami talks about Brahmarpanam, the necessity of prayer, and so we can go on and on just about food.
So the second ingredient, secret ingredient, is to have good company. Again, this is a huge topic by itself, but we'll just want you to look at the screen for what Bhagavan talks about ABC of life. Avoid bad company. Swami used to always say, "Tyaja durjana samsargam, bhaja sadhu samagamam, kuru punna ahoratnam, smara nitya anityatam."
Yes. In fact, this is from Dhyana Vahini, where Swami says, an aspirant must always be in search of good company. In fact, if you go ahead and read that part, we have not put it over here, but he in fact goes on to say that if you don't find good company, it's okay to be alone.
Yes.
Run away from bad company. Tyaja durjana samsargam.
Especially when you're in the spiritual path.
Exactly.
It's so important.
And if food is the direct input for the body through the mouth, then bad company, or any company for that matter, is the rest of the inputs for all our senses.
Yes.
So company just does not mean people, but it could also mean all the other inputs that we take.
Absolutely. And good company does not always mean that we have to find who are the good people. Many times we don't know who is good, who is not good. But what we can probably do is you align yourself with the goodness of people. You may not find good people, but you will always find some goodness in every person. So I think maybe that is something, one way of being in good company. Let's move on.
Yes,
because
each of these topics are, they are satsangs on their own. We can go on and on.
But
and
why we are stressing is, if you read Dhyana Vahini, Swami is very, very particular about these things.
Yes.
So we cannot say that we will do Dhyana and we'll compromise on all these things.
Correct. If you want to have a successful Dhyana, you cannot say, I'll eat whatever I want and yet I will have a successful Dhyana.
Yes.
I'll be in whatever company I want and yet have a successful Dhyana. The third tip.
Yes, the third is again very, very important, and that is called Abhiruchi, yearning. In fact, one sister, she has asked this question, how to develop spiritual hunger.
Absolutely.
And again, this is coming from a youngster, so it's really such a heartening moment to listen to someone very young in age wanting to know how to develop spiritual hunger. I can think about two ways. One is, as you were mentioning last time about the most delicious gulab jamuns of North Indian canteen. See, how will you develop a hunger for gulab jamun? Once you have eaten it, after that you will develop that hunger. So one thing is to first try. Once you try, I remember there was this brother, who was going through a lot of turmoil in his life, personal life, and he came to Prasanthi Nilayam, and I said, what you can do perhaps is join the Sathya organization. And he took that suggestion, and he got eventually so involved with the organization that he rose to be the youth leader of that region, becoming district president, and his life changed completely. So sometimes what happens, adversities lead us to developing that yearning. So it could be either an adversity.
But why wait for an adversity?
Yes.
Why even pray that, oh
Yes.
Swami, let the adversity come, then I will, get the spiritual hunger.
Yes.
Why wait for that?
Absolutely. So the other way is, as we are saying, association. If you have the right association, if you have the right upbringing, if you are in the company of good people, you will definitely develop that interest.
Yes, and we would like to take our own examples,
Yeah.
right? we have not faced that kind of adversity,
Yes.
but it was just being with our parents, being with the sibling, being with
Yes.
the organization, and most importantly, being with Swami. When we are contemporaries of the living avatar,
Yes.
of the Yuga avatar, what better company can we even hope for?
Now, I'm just tempted to share how one day a youngster came from North India and he told me, brother, I just came to know Bhagawan 1 or 2 years ago. And he said, I want to listen to everything that you produce here. I said, how did you develop this much interest? That longing was so evident in his eyes. He said, this interest came because I was listening to Samarpan talks, I was listening to all the productions, So we never know how this association will lead us to that yearning.
Yes, I can only mention the importance of yearning in a beautiful incident that happened in Kodaikanal. That was the time in 2005 when Swami in Kodaikanal, every day he would pick up, one or the other boy to hold his hand while walking. And it was, of course, it's a sight it is a blessing for gods. It's an opportunity that gods seek. So every day he would choose one or the other boy. And so one of the days he had picked up one brother, and that brother was, taking Swami along with him. And then Swami, he looks at the rest of the students and he says, he has this mischievous smile saying, very lucky. Swami is only saying, very lucky, he's getting a chance. So we all smiled at Swami, and in our minds we were saying, yeah, wish we also get this opportunity, sooner than later. So, and then suddenly, Swami stops and says, but holding my hand is not important. Yearning to hold my hand is more important. How incredible is the statement? Holding my hand is not important. Yearning to hold my hand is important. Just let us contemplate on this for a minute and just see. Mirabai never held Bhagawan's hand. Tyagaraja never held Bhagawan's hand. Tulsidas never held. Tukaram never held. But they all yearned to hold Bhagawan's hand. Right? And therefore, they were eligible for the ultimate. So, yearning is in fact more important than even actually doing it. In fact, in Dhyana Vahini, Swami goes on to say that yearning is endeavor. A strong yearning actually gets transformed. So, this is one very, very important secret ingredient for successful sadhana.
Absolutely. In fact, there is a letter that Bhagawan has written answering spiritual hunger. You can see it on the screen. And in his beautiful handwriting, Bhagawan has answered this question of spiritual hunger. Swami
In fact,
says,
in fact, it's such a beautiful letter. Swami says, have you got any spiritual hunger? And this is something that is written in 1973. He just says that he explains the meaning of spiritual hunger. Maybe, you know, the script over there is very, very small. But Swami says that spiritual hunger is the ultimate meaning of every activity in life. You know, so we probably will make this available to most of you, and you will be able to go through what does Swami himself talk about spiritual hunger.
so those are some of the secret ingredients that we could gather from Dhyana Vahini that anyone should adhere to if they want to walk, progress on the path of dhyana. Let's now come to the other aspect of dhyana, wherein Bhagavan talks about 3 stages. And Swami says the first stage is uha, imagination. You can see on the screen. The second stage is bhava, experiencing the form. And the final stage is sakshatkara, seeing it as a reality. I'm reminded of this very beautiful anecdote. One brother who was serving Bhagavan at close quarters, so in the evening he used to sleep in Bhagavan's room downstairs, and Bhagavan would get all these different gifts. One of the CDs was spiritual visualization, and that attracted his attention. So he took that CD and he heard, and there was a beautiful commentary wherein the voice said, imagine you are sitting in this beautiful lawn, there is absolute greenery around, there is a stream flowing and it is so serene, lovely meadows, and then you see the chariot coming from the sky. Your most favorite form of God is coming, and the boy imagined Swami, because for him Swami is everything. Swami is coming down, and Swami is getting down the chariot, and Swami is calling you, and Swami is holding your hand tight, and Swami is lifting you and taking you back to the heavens, and he's showing you such a beautiful panorama of the world. So when he heard that and he imagined, and you know, the thought that stayed in his mind is, I have to hold Swami's hand. I have to hold Swami's hand. He slept with that thought. Next morning, when Bhagavan emerged for darshan, so he used to walk with Swami. So as Swami was getting into the golf cart, this was 2003, 2004, Swami used to always take a little help of one more brother when he used to get into the golf cart. That day, Swami stopped and Swami called him, this brother. He said, you come. And he was surprised because that was not his duty. But Swami took his hand, Swami held it tight and gave a beautiful smile. And that day, evening session also, Swami held his hand and confirming him that you visualized this, you visualized me holding your hand, see, I am making it a reality for you. Next day it was back to the other brother. But what we are trying to say is, in dhyana, this whole process of visualization is so important, isn't it, Amit?
Absolutely. In fact, Swami mentions 3 other words. In a lot of Samako's discourses, you would have heard this. He says, like just like we said, uha, bhava and sakshatkara, there are other 3 set of words Swami says is jnatum, drashtum and praveshtum. And they very, very simply it means jnatum is to know, drashtum is to visualize, and praveshtum is to merge or become. So I would like to take the example of one of the heroes of Ramayana. For me, she is an absolute role model for every person on sadhana, and that is Mother Shabari. Mother Shabari was told by her guru, we all know her story, that Lord Rama is going to come. Now just imagine, we know Mother Shabari is in Kerala and Lord Rama is up in the north in Ayodhya, and she simply had faith in that, and every single day for the next decade, couple of decades, every single day she would clean up all the roads that walked up to her hermitage. She put flowers, we all know the story. She did not give up for one single day. right? Everybody made fun of her, saying that, oh my God, why will Rama come over here? And eventually one day he did come. So she knew that Rama is going to come. She visualized him coming, and if he comes, he will be hungry, etc., etc. So that was the drashtum part of it. And eventually one day Rama comes, and after that it is only mergence, which is praveshtum. So that is the importance of visualization.
Absolutely. And when we are talking about these stages of dhyana, imagination, experience, and finally experiencing the reality, Bhagawan in Dhyana Vahini and in many discourses lays emphasis on the sadhana of Jyoti meditation or the Jyoti Dhyana, light meditation. And Bhagavan goes in detail explaining why meditating on a flame is so paramount.
Yes, in fact, this is a meditation that Swami recommends. He says amongst all the kinds of meditation, Swami recommends the Jyoti Dhyana. And so what we will try to do is, let us get a little understanding of what is Jyoti meditation, and then eventually we will actually do the Jyoti meditation through beautiful ways that which is lined up for you. So first of all, understanding why Jyoti. If you look at the Jyoti, the centerpiece of the Jyoti meditation is a flame, which is fire. So what does fire do? Fire has 4 basic characteristics. One is its ability to purify. Anything that is put into fire only gets purified. Secondly, it is always, it's full. You will never find a half fire, right? You will never find a half flame. It's always full. And thirdly, it is inexhaustible. One small flame can light up 1,000,000 different flames, and it is always pure, right? So those are the 4 characteristics. And if you notice in our Sanatana Dharma, flame is something that is used for all functions, I would say, from womb to tomb. From Namakaranam, from the day we are named, right up to our funeral, fire has always been...
It is the witness of everything that happens in our life. And the other beautiful thing about fire is, it is the medium, it is the carrier of our prayers. When we do yagnam, we chant the mantras, because through the fire, they reach the devatas. So fire is such a sacred, most pure medium to concentrate upon.
And therefore, Swami has given us that as a medium for our meditation.
Absolutely. So let's listen to this little clip of Bhagavan where Swami himself says how to do Jyoti meditation. And after that, we'll spend a little more time understanding what Bhagavan mentions.
మొట్టమొదట మనం కూర్చొని ఈ మంకీ మైండ్ ను ఒక వాచ్మాన్ పని ఇవ్వాలి, ఇక్కడ పెట్టాలి.
So we must sit in dhyana and we must give the duty of a watchman to the monkey, namely the mind.
ఎవరు లోపల పోతున్నారు, ఎవరు బయట వస్తున్నారు. సో లోపల పోతున్నాడు, హం బయట వస్తున్నాడు. కనుక పోయేటువంటి వాడు సో, వచ్చేటువంటి వాడు హం.
If we entrust the duty as a watchman to the mind, and this monkey sits there at the tip of the nose and goes on watching, the breath that goes in is so, and the breath that comes out is hum. This process goes on, so hum, and the monkey is kept busy watching this coming in and going out.
ఈ విధంగా చేసిన తర్వాత 5 నిమిషాలు అయిన తర్వాత నీకు ప్రీతి అయినటువంటి ఒక చిత్రాన్ని నీవు ముందు పెట్టుకో.
After keeping the mind busy for 5 minutes like this, have a picture which is dear to your heart.
లేక ఒక జ్యోతిని నీవు ఎదురుగా పెట్టుకో.
Or have a flame in front of you.
ఆ జ్యోతిని నీవు కన్నులు తెరిచి చక్కగా చూడు.
Look at that flame with your eyes wide open.
ఏ యొక్క జ్యోతిని నీవు బహిర్ముఖమైనటువంటి జగత్తులో నువ్వు చూస్తువో దానిని క్రమక్రమేణా కన్నులు మూసుకొని ఆ జ్యోతి నీలో ప్రవేశించినట్టుగా ఇమేజ్ చేయి.
Imagine that flame which you have beheld with your eyes wide open. After closing the eyes, you imagine that that flame is kindled within you.
కేవలము అక్కడ కూడా నువ్వు మనస్సుకు ఒక తీవ్రమైన పని పెట్టాలి.
There also the mind must be given a busy activity. We must make the mind bring that flame and deposit that flame within the recesses of our heart.
అక్కడ హృదయ కమలం లోపల జ్యోతి వెలుగుతున్నట్టుగా చింతించాలి.
In the lotus of the heart, we must imagine that this flame is ablaze.
కనుక నీ యొక్క జ్యోతి నీ కన్నుల్లో పోయి చేరినది కనుక బ్యాడ్ దృష్టి ఉండకూడదు. ఎందుకంటే తమసోమ జ్యోతిర్గమయ, ఎక్కడ జ్యోతి ఉంటుంటారో అక్కడ చీకటి ఉండదు.
Because the flame is burning bright in the eyes, there should be no darkness. Therefore, you should not look at bad objects. Because the flame has joined your ears, you should not hear anything that is
ఆ
bad.
జ్యోతి నీ యొక్క నాలుక పైన రావడం చేత అక్కడ చెడ్డ మాటలు మాట్లాడడానికి అవకాశం ఉండదు.
Because the flame is burning bright on your tongue, there is no scope to utter
నీ
bad words.
పాదముల్లో ఈ జ్యోతి చేరటం వల్ల చెడ్డ ప్రదేశానికి ఇది ప్రయాణం చేయడానికి ఏమాత్రం అంగీకరించదు.
Because this flame is bright in your limbs, your feet should not go to bad places. Because the flame is there in the arms, your hands do not undertake any bad work.
కనుక ఈ ఏక జ్యోతిని అనేక విధములైనటువంటి యొక్క ప్రయాణములు సలిపి సర్వత్రా ఉన్నటువంటి యొక్క పరమాత్మ జ్యోతి, పరబ్రహ్మ జ్యోతి ఒక్కటే అనేటువంటి యొక్క సత్యాన్ని మనము గుర్తించుకోవటంలో ఈ ధ్యానం అనేటువంటిది ఎంతైనా మనకు సహాయకారిగా ఉంటుంది.
Then you must realize that this same flame is burning bright in your neighbors, in the people of your locality, in your friends and relations. At a later stage, you must prove that you are able to realize that this flame is burning bright even in your enemies.
మొట్టమొదట మనం కూర్చొని ఈ
So that is what Bhagawan has mentioned. In fact, there are several discourses. What we played for you is just a little clip. But you heard Bhagavan narrating how you should take the Jyoti to different limbs of the body. And Swami, in conversations with Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, which is documented by Dr. John Hislop, Swami says the sequence is not that important. You know, what is important is every limb of the body being purified. So we need not go into the nitty-gritty of, oh, should I take the Jyoti, after I've taken to the heart, should I take it here, should I take it to the legs? That is not so important. What is important is the spirit. If you see the screen, this quote of Bhagavan on Jyoti meditation, Swami is emphasizing on why we should use the light, and also the important factor is we should not look at it as a ritual. We should go to the spirit of meditation. Swami is telling it is advisable that Jyoti is taken as the object of meditation. Jyoti does not perish or change. A flame can kindle a million others without getting extinguished and is therefore inexhaustible. In fact, this reminds me of this little incident that happened in old Vrindavan in the 70s. So there was this brother who suddenly was very inspired to do Dhyana, and he said, now this is going to be my path. I'm going to do very, very serious Dhyana. So there was this other hostel, next to the hostel where the building is not occupied. So he took one room and he sat there, and to ensure that the flame is steady, he put a thick cardboard in a V shape. The flame was steady, and he used to do that and thinking that this is the only direction for me. I don't have to do anything else. And one day, he had done for so many days and he was not feeling that high. So one day when he was doing, suddenly he started feeling warm, and he felt, okay, maybe I'm getting that experience. And after some time, it was getting hot, and after a little while, it became unbearably hot. And then he opened his eyes and he saw that the lamp, the book, the cardboard, everything is in flames. So he said, it was my whole sadhana was reduced to cinders, unfulfilled spiritual ambitions reduced to smithereens. Bhagavan later called this boy, and Swami said, hey, like this if you practice, you'll become a crack. Don't be like this. So it's not be so rigid. I'm doing Dhyana, so I will not do anything else. I don't want bhajan, I don't want seva. What is important is the spirit.
Yes.
And I think that is something very, very important.
I think we cannot overemphasize, the need to go back to understanding, because a lot of questions have also come. For example, when should we do? And Swami often says, yes, you should do it in Brahma Muhurtam time, because that's the best time to do. So last time we had mentioned that from 4 to 8.
Eight.
So Swami has obviously, we don't have a reference to Swami saying that we can do it before 8 o'clock. But when Swami says that 4 to 8 is a sattvic time, I think that is the time when we can do any kind of prayers or japa or dhyana for that matter.
Preferably, you can do it before 6. Brahma Muhurtam is 3 to 6.
Yes, 3 to 6.
Yes.
Why? Because the sun rises,
Yes.
and so what is more important? And let's really go back and keep focusing on that,
Yes.
which is the spirit behind the ritual. Only then it becomes spiritual.
Spiritual,
Otherwise, it will be reduced to simply becoming a ritual.
Yeah.
So there are so many things like duration. How long should I do it? Bhagawan talks about half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening.
Yeah.
But once again, it is, let us first take the first step. Oftentimes Swami has told in Dhyana Vahini, Swami says, take a wooden platform. So the first thing we do is, oh, I don't have a wooden platform, so let me not do meditation. No, let us not have that kind of an attitude. Let the attitude be, Swami, I don't have it now, but let me begin. Let me take my first step.
Yes.
We take one step and he's going to take 100 steps towards us.
Absolutely. And there are 3 stages in Jyoti meditation. Bhagavan talks about concentration, contemplation, and meditation.
Yes.
So Swami says when you are concentrating on a flame going into various parts of the body, so what is happening is you are thinking your focus is constantly on the flame. But that is not the objective, Swami says. The objective is your mind is so occupied, so concentrated in that action that you slowly forget the body. And that is what is most important.
Yes.
Swami says if you have correct concentration, that will lead you to contemplation.
Yes. And in fact, this Abhiruchi that we were talking about, Swami says from Abhiruchi it goes to Avadhanamu, which is concentration. So once we have interest in something, we automatically get concentration. And from concentration, from Avadhanamu, it goes to Ekagrata, which is one-pointedness. And that is what is very important. In fact, this Jyoti meditation, it has all the aspects of meditation, which is being here and now through Soham, which is the beginning, and also visualization. So both the techniques are being beautifully combined over here in this through this Jyoti meditation, which is possibly the easiest,
yeah.
the surest,
Safest,
and the
Swami
safest.
says.
Yes.
Yes.
Where to go for Kundalini and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Swami is telling, he has given us a blank check in the 20th, in this Kali Yuga,
Yes.
in this 21st century. Do this.
Yeah.
This is the surest, safest, and easiest path.
And when your contemplation deepens, when you are so focused on this light that you are not conscious of the body at all, when that deepens, then meditation happens. And that is the stage where you don't know that you are meditating.
Yes.
Because meditation is above the senses. Concentration is below the senses. The midway is contemplation. So that is the journey. Concentration so deep that you move on to contemplation. Contemplation so intense that you are in meditation. And in that stage, the Dhyata, the Dhyeya, and the Dhyana, the person who meditates, the
object of meditation and the process of meditation.
Everything becomes one. I think that is the goal, the beautiful goal of Jyoti Dhyana.
And just be consistent.
Yeah.
That Swami is what Swami expects us, which is consistency and intensity.
Absolutely.
Consistently intense and intensely consistent.
Yes, absolutely. So, dear viewers, we want to help how we can move on to this path of Jyoti meditation, because Swami has said this is the most easiest and beautiful way, and to enable this, we have prepared a few resources. So one is a guided meditation session. So this is about 22 minutes, and we will be offering this very shortly. You can listen to this guided meditation and start your Jyoti Dhyana. This is completely based on how Bhagawan has instructed the process of Jyoti meditation. We will also be offering you an introduction video, an introduction to Jyoti meditation, a probably 5-minute video, which will also help you to understand the significance and the importance of Jyoti meditation. So these will be made available once we finish this session in a day. Probably you will find, please use these resources and see how we can enjoy and convert this whole sadhana of dhyana into a sadhana of delight and joy.
And that is how we have completed this journey, creating a Prasanthi in each one of our lives. From Prasanthi, Swami says, we go to Prakanthi, which is effulgence. And from Prakanthi, the ultimate, which is Paramjyoti, where there is no difference between my Swami and I. We are just one, and that is the bliss. For that very reason, the avatar comes again and again to tell us that you and I are one.
Absolutely. So that Prakanthi is that effulgence, Prasanthi is the peace within. But when that peace reaches out and envelopes everyone, that is what we experience in Jyoti meditation. So we move to a stage where we feel that the light that is within me is not different from the light of the universe. And once that feeling deepens, then eventually we become one with that light. We become the light. That is the stage of Paramjyoti. We're really grateful to Bhagawan for giving us this opportunity to contemplate on his beautiful messages that he has given us in various vahinis and hundreds of discourses. We hope this discussion was of some use to you. As always, please feel free to send us your feedback. Any questions you have that you would like us to take up in this session, you can send to our WhatsApp number 9393-258-258, or you can leave them in the comment section of this video. And as promised, we will be offering you these two resources, a guided Jyoti meditation session as well as an introduction to Jyoti meditation. We are really thankful to each one of you, dear brothers and sisters, for your time, for your patience, for your love. And on behalf of the entire team of Sri Sathya Sai Media Center, we express our gratitude to Swami and our love to each one of you. Thank you so much. Sai Ram.
And have a most auspicious and beautiful Guru Purnima.
Yes.